Taking number 3 spot in our power rankings to begin the season is the Minnesota Vikings. GM Kyle Donner's team last year. Pretty good year, although they didn't live up to expectations in large part because of injuries and disappointments. Andrew Luck was looking good, but then just injuries killed him, ruined his season, finishes QB 27 with a lot of missed games. Eddie Lacy finishes RB 25, but really one of the biggest disappointments in fantasy last year. Mike Evans, a guy who a lot of potential. Could be a top 15 fantasy wide receiver, but really a lot of drops killed him. Needs to still develop some chemistry with Jameis Winston. So just a team that really didn't live up to the hype last year, kind of fell down. But now they return for the 2016 season. And after some trades where the team acquired Sammy Watkins and Carlos Hyde, you have to like what this team has. At quarterback, Andrew Luck. The concern with Luck will be injuries once again. He does have those concerns just because that Colts offensive line is horrific and they might get him killed. But until he does get hurt, you have to like him as a top option as a fantasy quarterback. At running back, he's got David Johnson, probably in a .2 PPR league, probably one of the two best fantasy running backs. Maybe the best, only because he'll play 3 more games than Le'Veon Bell. And also a young guy who has so much upside, is going to do so much for that team. There's been Marshall Faulk comparisons with his work as a receiving back. It's just so much life there. Eddie Lacy, I know that there's a narrative that, he's fat and Alabama running backs don't have success in the NFL, but really it's a false narrative. There's been, aside from Trent Richardson, there's been plenty of successful recent backs from Alabama and Nick Saban's system. Lacy got in shape this year. He looks a lot better. He looks committed. Green Bay's committed to running the football with him. And really, he could return to that top form once again. Instead of being an RB 25, he could be an RB 10, RB 9, RB 8. And so, you have that. You have Carlos Hyde, who, again, there's an injury red flag here, which, kind of fits in with some of the stuff here. But really, if Chip Kelly uses him enough, uses him correctly, with how he's used running backs in the past, he could be a huge running back for this team. Huge. And to have him as a flex would be tremendous. And running out the running back situation, you have Isaiah Crowell. He's not going to wow anybody, but as depth player, he's a great option. That really rounds up the running backs. But at wide receiver, you have Odell Beckham Jr. There's some belief he could beat out Antonio Brown as the best wide receiver in fantasy if he gets more targets this year. It's very possible. As long as those hamstrings stay healthy, he's going to be a star. Probably a top 2 fantasy wide receiver at the least. Mike Evans drops were the issue last year, but if he can correct those with more chemistry developed between him and Jameis Winston, big numbers could be coming for him. Sammy Watkins. Health remains a factor, but he has enormous talent, enormous potential, and could be a wide receiver, top 12 fantasy wide receiver if he continues to produce. Jared Cook is a guy who Carolina Panthers actually really like. Drops route running are a major concern, but if he can put it all together he has not even just a good quarterback now, which he's never had in a career, but a great quarterback. And just there's a lot of talent here. There's some nice depth. Matt Ryan, there's some questions about him, but still Travis Benjamin, Austin Hooper long-term, there's stuff like Torrey Smith, Marvin Jones. The team has some quality depth that could improve, but really the big standout here is that starting lineup. And it's why the Minnesota Vikings came in number 3 in the power rankings to start the season and are seen as a Super Bowl contender.